I started at the top of the show and I said that why is there a need for black power? Why there is a need for black power is because if we were truly citizens of this place, if we were truly citizens of this place, there would be no need for that because we would have the power that we need to conduct ourselves as citizens. The United States is a genocidal, anti-black project. How do you stop genocide with black business? How do you stop genocide with black schools or a black political party, like Diddy says, vote or die, or a contract, which Ice Cube is trying to negotiate now with the present administration? How do you stop genocide with a congressional black caucus in the halls of your genocide? How do you stop a genocide with a president or a black vice president? Last week, I posed a question. And the question was, what does freedom look like? I say it looks like collective economic power. Complete control over our housing, healthcare, mobility, and defense, separate from white authority. And a guarantee to all black people. I say it looks like the eradication of poverty, prisons, and the police. Understand something. If we don't do all of these things collectively, done separately, they're just like spinning in the wind. There is no one thing. We're fighting a system. We're fighting a system. And if you're fighting a system, the only way to defeat a system is with another system. So we have to systematically fight this through politics, through education, through economics, through self-defense, self-determination. We have to do this as a collective. All these things that I mentioned, all these things that we talk about that we have to do, we have to vote, we have to get a black president, we have to do these things. We're fighting a system. We're not fighting an individual. So no individual thing that you do or support is going to work on its own. These things have to be done. These things have to be done in concert. They have to be done collectively and systematically. We're fighting a system of white supremacy. We're fighting a system of oppression. We're not fighting an individual. We're fighting a system. So we have to do the same thing and fight it systematically. That's right. We have to fight it systematically. It looks like reparations. Because how can you build wealth in a place where your unemployment rate is double that of everyone else? How can you build wealth when your children go to substandard schools and are taught that they are less than? How do you build wealth when your children and you are being starved out in food deserts and not given access to clean water or food that will give you the strength to do any job that you deem fit to do? These are the things that we have to remember. It is not about individual accolades. It's not about individual things. We have to build our own institutions. We have to build our own laws and our own nation to uplift us. This is what we have to do. Voting alone won't do it. If that were the case, we would already be there. I constantly get asked, am I telling people not to vote? No. I'm not telling you that. What I'm telling you is voting alone is not enough. Supporting black businesses alone is not enough. Marching alone is not enough. We're fighting a system, and a system has to be fought on the same level, systematically. We have to build unity, and we have to build a nation. We have to build our power, because there is no need for the U.S. or anyone else to deal with us if we have no power? Why would they? They have reneged on every promise that they've given us since we've been here. Since the so-called Emancipation Proclamation, 40 acres and a mule, equal rights under the law, Civil Rights Act, Voters' Rights Act. Equal employment, on and on and on, the list goes. They have reneged on us because we have no power. And we have no power because we are not united. We have no power because we are not fighting together. We have to get out of the stereotypes that they put on us and work together. We can't feed into the nonsense and repeat the nonsense that is said about us. We like crabs in a barrel. Okay. We like crabs in a barrel. And they're absolutely right. Because what are those crabs in the barrel doing? They have no idea. They're in a place that is foreign to them. They're around people that look like them, but they have no idea who they are. They're around other crabs that don't speak the same language. They look the same. They look similar. Nobody ever asked how the crab got into the barrel. So everybody is fighting, all the crabs are fighting to get out. They're all fighting for individual freedom. If they stop and realize they are all in a foreign place, in a bad situation, and work together, they can pull themselves out. And that's what we have to do. We have to realize it doesn't matter how we got into the barrel. We have to realize that the only way out of that barrel is together. We have to learn to work together. Because how we got there, at this point in time, it doesn't matter. We know how we got here. We know how we got here and why we are here. But if we are truly tired of it and we want better, then we all have to be free. We all have to be free. There can be no more political prisoners. There can be no more mass incarceration. There can be no more over-policing of our communities and abusing our women and our children. There can be no more miseducation of our children. There can be no more theft of our land and our wealth. Our land has to be returned to us. There has to be reparations. Our land, our money, our intellectual properties have to be returned to us with interest. That's where our power comes from. You can't negotiate from a point of weakness. It's like the relationship between a child and a parent. The child has no power to negotiate with the parent. The parent holds all the keys. The parent makes the money. The parent makes the rules. The parent pays the bills. The parent makes the rules. And the child is forced to live under the rules of the child until the child gains what? Power. The power to take care of themselves. The power to make their own money. The power to pay their own bills. The power to make their own decisions. Well, black folks, it is time for us to get our power so that we can negotiate from a place of power. And that can only be done collectively. We have to build our institution and support our institutions. We have to build our businesses and support our businesses. We have to build our own political bloc or our own political party, as it were, and negotiate from there. Because as long as we're divided, we'll never have anything. We had an ask of the Democratic candidates, supposedly, and that was to have a black female running mate. And we got that. And that's all we got. We got that while black people were being killed in the streets. We got that while black people are being starved out. We got that while black people are dying at twice the rate of white people or any other race during this pandemic. We got that while black unemployment is double that of everyone else in this country. We got the promise of a black running mate, of a black vice president. Social programs are being cut. Spending in so-called urban areas, which means black areas, are being cut. And our ask was for a black vice president. Black people are still being killed in the streets. Black women are still being abused and accosted and demeaned in the media and in real life. Black men are being incarcerated at alarming rates, thrown into prison where they are brutalized and degraded. And we asked for a black female vice president. The only thing we have to be more intelligent, people, and this is why I say what I say about voting. It is simply a tool in the box of things that we have in our repertoire of tools to use. And you use, to build a house, you need many tools. And voting is one of them. And we have to use it wisely. Social unrest is a tool, and we have to use it, and we have to use it wisely. Economic strength is a tool, and we have to use it, and we have to use it wisely. But these things have to be used in concert. They have to be used together. They cannot be separated. We have to fight on many different fronts, and we have to fight this fight collectively. This is the only way that we can defeat a system, because the system is firing on all fronts. It's fighting on all fronts. It's opposing us on all these fronts. We have to build our institutions. We have to organize outside and beyond elections. Because what's going to happen is, if this election goes the way that I guess black people want it to go, they figure Joe Biden is going to be the answer, and he gets in, what is it going to change for black people, is my question. Are we going to stop getting shot down in the streets? Are we going to stop being discriminated against? Are we all of a sudden going to have fresh food and water in our communities? Are we all of a sudden going to have fair housing for black folks? The answer is no. The answer is no. So we have to do other things as well as vote. As well as vote. We have to organize and build our institutions of learning. And that starts from the ground up. Not just institutions of higher learning, but our basics. We have to teach our children their worth in first grade, and in kindergarten, in middle school, and high school, so that when they get to these institutions of higher learning, they are really prepared for higher learning. We have to teach our children their worth before the system gets a hold to them. We have to teach our children their worth to us, because this world that we're leaving to them is not going to be here, and neither will they, if we don't get together and build our own institutions. So we have to ask ourselves that this is the solution. What are we going to do? Because all of these things alone won't solve anything. Voting alone, supporting black businesses alone, being participating in social unrest or social disobedience alone won't do it. Building black schools alone won't do it. We have to fight this thing on all fronts, and we have to fight it together. We have to fight this thing together. I cannot stress how much that we cannot just sit back on our laurels once this election cycle is over. Whichever way it goes, it doesn't matter. Because if you look at the history of this country, right wing, left wing, Democrat, Republican, we have suffered equally under both. So we have to do something else in conjunction with, because voting alone won't get it. Not unless we have our own party. Not unless we control the laws that we are governed by. Not unless we have a say in what happens in our community. Not unless we have a say that these prisons get shut down. We have people doing time in prison for nothing more than being black. For being black, for being black and poor. For having the audacity to want to do better. For having the audacity to want to vote. For having the audacity to want equal rights. I want to say one more thing before we go to our break that really that sticks in my craw, that really bothers me. When I hear people say people died for your right to vote and try to guilt people into voting with that logic. People died for your right to exist. The slave revolts we heard in the speech that was given by Brother Baldwin, the slave revolts, our ancestors died for your right to be free in this or any other place. You have your ancestors that died for your very existence, your right to be free and educate your children the way that you wanted to educate them, to eat what you want to eat and to live where you want to live. People died for many things. People died for the right for people to fight for their right to vote. So again, before we just beat our children over the head with people died for your right to vote, you should be ashamed when you don't vote. Let me tell you something, black folks. When you don't stand up for your children, you should be ashamed, because people died for you to have the right to have your children and to send them to school. People died for your right to be free and work and get paid. People died for lots of things for us. So we all need to do what we need to do to continue that. Because again, we are still in bondage. We are still in bondage. We are governed by laws that we have no say in. We're educated by people or miseducated by people that don't care about us. Only a fool lets his enemy educate their children, because they're going to miseducate. Everything that our children are taught is against their very existence, against their very being. How can you teach a child to be proud when they don't see anything to be proud of? How can you teach a child to stand up for themselves or each other when they are taught day in and day out that everything that they are and everything that they have is because of someone else? So shame on you when you don't teach your children to be proud, because somebody died so that you could exist in this place. Somebody died so that you could work and have a home of your own. Someone died so that people could continue to fight to be a part of this society or have their own society. And just to tell people that someone died for your right to vote is an injustice. Because people have been dying for our rights. Our ancestors have been dying for our rights to exist in this place. And that's what we need to be teaching our children. That's where your sense of pride comes from. People died so that you could just live as a free man, as a free woman, as a free child. And we beat them over the head when someone died for your right to vote. People have been dying for our right to, for our very existence for years. And that's what we need to teach our children, that the struggle must continue. Because those that died for our freedom have died in vain. They've died in vain. Because you have black folks that won't stand up for anything. You have black folks that want to keep their head down and keep quiet. And it'll be all right. We have black people standing around videotaping police abuse, not intervening. We have black people standing around videotaping people being abused, accosted, and wronged, and not intervening. How dare you? Only we can change our situation. Don't get me wrong. Our situation is not our fault. Our condition is not our fault. We did not ask to be brought here and enslaved. We did not ask to be mistreated here. We did not ask to be hung by trees and shot down in the streets and be lined and set against one another. We did not ask for it. But only we have the power to change it, because there is no incentive in white supremacists or our colonizers to change it. There's no incentive in it for them. So, again, don't take my words as abusing our community. What I'm saying is, it's not our fault for our condition, but only we can change our condition, is my point. Only we can change it, because they are not going to do it. They are not going to do it. And our condition is what it is. But we have to change it.